Hi, we're Team Drop Table from Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota. I'm Will, a freshman and a prospective statistics major.
I'm Albert, a senior computer science major.
I'm Cuong, a junior computer science major.
And I'm Gencer, a freshman computer science and math prospective major.
We do have our contact information right here behind us. We will also insert a slide at the very end of the presentation if you'd like to take a look there. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today our team would like to present to you our project, Big Matches with Errors. I'm Cuong.
I'm Will.
I'm Gencer.
And I'm Albert.
Pleased to show you the result of our research. First of all, we believe that it's a great opportunity for us to participate in this event because if a match is successful, it will provide a great academic, behavioral, and emotional benefits to the mentee as well as a great experience for the mentors. Furthermore, we would like to help preventing the problem with self-esteem and trust in the case of a match failure. Our research focused on finding the influential factors for match length, closure reason, and match success, and we have created explanatory variables to account for the emergence of COVID and the different starting time of each match.
For us to analyze the success of these matches, we first need to determine a criteria for what actually makes a match successful. By BBBS standard, there are 4 possible ways for a match to be considered successful. The first, the match is still active. Second, the match is long-lasting, which we'll define later on as to what the specific criteria for that is. Third, the little's age is sufficient. And fourth, the match is terminated successfully. Both parties agree that it was a success and then walk away. In addition, we took a look at some of the closure reasons for these matches, and upon initial exploration, we found over 30 different reasons. However, in further analysis, we found that this could be split into mainly 4 categories. First of which is unavailability of either the mentor or the mentee. This could be due to simply time constraints or moving. Either way, they were unavailable to continue participating in the BBBS program. Second, they were possibly incompatible with each other. So the mentor and the mentee just felt like they didn't mesh well and just couldn't continue being a pair. Third, either party was unfit for participation in the BBBS program in the first place, as they violated a policy or simply had unreasonable expectations for the program in the first place. And fourth, the scheduled termination, where it's a successful match closure or the little has graduated. In addition to those closure reasons, we also have a few more key terms that we would like to define for you here. Within our analysis, we looked at the age gap, which we split into 2 categories, small and large. Small age gap is when the age gap between the mentor and the mentee is less than 10 years of difference. A large age gap is when the gap is either 10 or more. In addition to that, we also took a look at the program type. This could be site or community. Community program type is when the pair meet in the community and the location can vary from meeting to meeting, whereas in site is usually a set location, typically at the little school.
Now, let's look into our first response variable, match length. We used the Kaplan-Meier survival curve to be able to represent match length. We determined the median to be 20 months, which we used a threshold for success. Anything above this, anything left of this line, we consider as successful matches.
We also wanted to take a look as to what actually contributed to a longer match length. Through a Cox regression, we found that there were 3 possible contributors that were significant. First was the large age gap between the mentor and the mentee. Second was the big gender being male. And then lastly, and perhaps most staggering, the community program type showed almost a 40% risk reduction when compared to site program type.
Let's now consider our second response variable, closure reason. First of all, I want to show you guys the new distribution of closure reasons after our grouping. Lack of availability had 55% of matches, unfit for participation had 26%, incompatible match had 12%, and finally scheduled termination had 7%. We ran several chi-square tests and ANOVA tests to determine significant associations with closure reason, but one that we found particularly interesting was the relationship with race alignment. Race alignment being when both the mentor and mentee share the same race. When this was true, we found that the proportion of scheduled terminations increased, but we also found that the proportion of incompatible matches increased. We have a theory supported by research suggesting that matches not made on race tend to be made on personality-based factors, reducing the odds of an incompatible match, and this is something that we're going to talk about in our suggestions later.
Now let's look into successful matches. Throughout our analysis, we determined that 58% of all matches were successful. This is considering the fact that we determined anything about 20 months as successful as well. Now, we used the logistic regression to determine how much each variable contributes to success. We have seen that match length was affected by community and age gap, which we can see similar findings in success. We've also seen that racial alignment had an effect on closure reason, which also has an effect on success positively. Now, we looked into our hobbies data, but we weren't able to find any findings because of the missing variables. However, we looked into our rationale for match and we determined some keywords that led us to analyze 5 interest variables. We found one of them to be significant, which was sports match, which was when big and the little had a common interest in sports, which had significant effects on success, over 25%.
In addition to looking at these variables, we also took a look at how distance could potentially affect the success of a match. There were 2 ways we could look at this. First was calculating the distance between the reported census blocks of the mentor and the mentee, and second was looking at the reported distance in the rationale of match. However, after calculating the distance and comparing it to what was reported, there was several inconsistencies with this, and so we didn't want to include it in our final analysis, even though we had originally found a significant correlation. Now, let's take a look at our conclusion. Through all of our analysis and taking a look at what actually contributes to a match being successful, we landed on 4 main features. First, the program type being community over site. Second, the large age gap between the mentor and the mentee. Third, the interest in sports. And lastly, the issue of racial alignment.
As a mentor myself, some of my favorite days with my mentee have involved going outside to play in a park or kicking a soccer ball around. The importance of outdoor activities on match success cannot be understated, and we encourage these for every match regardless of type. If the mentee is involved in sports, is interested in sports, matching based on sports is also a good idea. Furthermore, 27% of matches are site-based, meaning they take place in a school and have no provision for outdoor activities. And for these matches, we specifically recommend providing more outdoor activities to get that increased association with match success.
On top of that, we believe that arranging matches of the age gap of at least 10 years between the big and the little can allow for more successful matches. We believe this because having a greater age gap allows for the big to have a more authoritative power and so can better organize their meetings in order to better facilitate whatever they're doing. Currently, there's only 18% matches with an age gap of less than 10 years, so it can be easily taken into consideration for any future matches.
Now, racial alignment was interesting. We've seen that it has an effect on closure reason, as well as a positive effect on success. However, we believe that this might be influenced by societal factors. To appeal to BBBS's goal for providing better matches, we believe that further support should be provided for cross-racial matches. This is especially important considering the fact that 75% of all matches were cross-racial. Now, in conclusion, we believe that following our suggestions, BBBS could provide big matches with little errors. Here's our sources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.